Well, with summer just around the corner and we might want to sit out in our gardens, have barbecues and decorate the outdoors, I thought we'd make some really simple bunting, but really simple bunting that is finished off with no raw edges and a really nice neat band across the top. So if you are making bunting to sell, like I know a lot of you will be doing, then this is a really nice professional finish to it. And it's ever so easy, and you can make it with real scraps of fabric as well, so it's very cost effective to make. So let's start by cutting our fabric. These pennants actually work out at 5 inches long and 5 inches across, but I've got a really easy way for you to cut out the triangles. The most cost-effective way of using the fabric is to use a fabric that's non-directional, meaning that it doesn't matter which way round your fabric's going to be, because some of our pennants are going to be cut the right way and some are going to be cut upside down, and that's how we make it cost-effective. So I've got 2 strips of fabric, one in floral fabric and one in plain, and I'm going to cut them all out at the same time. They're actually folded in half. So these are the width of the roll. Mine's only about 44 inches wide, and I'm just laying them on top of each other. The fold of your fabric is always at the straight edge. So if you do have your rotary cutter, ruler and mat that you may have seen in a previous video that I use so much and so often, this is where it really comes into its own. So fold the fabric in half and place the folded side here on the grid of your mat, so we know that that's straight. As that's the fold, I'm going to overlap it slightly and cut that off. Okay, now I'm going to measure a whole strip which is 6 inches in width, which is the width of my ruler. So I'm going to line up my ruler with the grid on my mat, so I know that that's all straight, and cut. I could probably do this all in one go, but it won't fit underneath the view that you're looking at from my camera. Okay, and then turn it around in the opposite direction. Line the edge that I've cut against a line on my mat, and then take the width of my ruler and cut. Let's turn this over because I've got one piece which is slightly shorter than the other. Now I need to cut my pennants 5 inch in widths from the top. So basically I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches here, and then taper down to a point which will measure 2.5 inches across the bottom. So my first cut is going to be from the edge to 2.5 inches here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches at the top here, cut down to that same point. I'm just going to move this section along so I'm at the edge of the 1 inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this is where it can get very speedy. 5 inches there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 inches in that direction. Now you can see why it's important to have a fabric that's non-directional, because some of these, if it's a directional print, will be upside down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back this way. And you'll carry on all the way across your fabric in the same way. And then you'll have your perfect triangles. So what I'm going to do with have a think about where you're going to use these, because some of your bunting you'll be able to see both sides, some you'll only see one side. It depends whether you're going to put it up against a fence or a wall, or if you're going to hang it freely. So with my bunting, I'm going to use 1 stripe and 1 fabric piece, and then I may alternate those as they go across the ribbon. If you're only going to see one side of the bunting, then you could use some cheaper fabric on the back, maybe some old sheeting or calico or something that you have left behind. Now I'm going to sew each of these pieces together along the two long sides and leave the top open. Leave the needle in the down position when you get to the point, so you can pivot and go back up the other side. And just before you finish, take the next couple of triangles and chain piece them together. It's such a quick way of making bunting. The whole strip that you saw right at the top of this video probably took me about an hour to make. It's really quick. It uses up small pieces of fabric, and I think bunting is so much fun. It's kind of uplifting and puts a smile on your face, and it's not all about, you know, street parties and celebrations. You can use bunting to decorate so many areas of your home, not just at party time. And you don't need to be an expert sewer. So this would be an ideal project for somebody that's brand new to sewing. It doesn't matter if your stitches aren't perfectly straight. It doesn't matter if your triangles aren't all exactly the same size. You don't have to worry about darts and seam allowances or anything like that. And it doesn't matter if the pennants aren't all exactly the same size. We'll just do two more here. But let's have a couple with the flowers the same way together. You could personalise your bunting as well, maybe put the alphabet, some letters in the centre. You could spell out happy birthday, put names on there, wedding anniversaries, weddings. Entirely up to you. Your bunting can be as personal as you want to make it. Right, so let's move you out of the way and snip these pennants apart. There we go. Now to make the points pointy, you can snip across the fabric at the points of each one of those. Not through the stitches, just across the points. And then we'll turn these the right side out. So this is where a knitting needle will come in handy, or a blunt pencil, or the like. So take your knitting needle and just poke the end out. Don't use your scissors, because your scissors will go straight through the end. Make sure you've got the iron on at this point, because we're going to press these in just a second. And then we'll trim them and join them all together. Be a nice idea to print your own fabric actually. Maybe you could print your pennants with kids' photographs. If you print onto printable fabric, printable canvas, that would be a nice idea. Or letters, and again names, or in my Sew Bunting book I actually printed some fabric in the Wedding March musical theme, and made some bunting out of that. So that was lovely for a wedding idea. And of course you can make these pennants in any size you like. They don't have to be 5-inch triangles. They could be larger, they could be smaller. And you could even fill them. Another one of the ones in So Bunting had lavender inside them. So just fill them up with a little bit of lavender before you put the bias binding across the top. And then you've got something that smells wonderful across maybe the bed head or in a child's bedroom. Okay, I'm going to go and press all of these. And then we'll come back, trim them, and put them onto the bias binding. Right, so those are all of my pennants now. Turn them right side out and press them. And I now need to trim the tops, because no matter how careful you are sewing them together, they're going to have these little ears at either side that need trimming. So I'm going to cut them down 3 at a time. And again, line them up on my board. And trim them all down to 5 inches. Nice thing about bunting, it doesn't matter if they're not all exactly the same. It's only bunting. There's the first 3. Somebody likes bunting. All right, come here. Come on, you've got to say hello now. Come here. Bobbin, come here. Come here, come here. Come on. Hey. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come here. She's a bit busy at the moment. She's barking at the cat. Oi. Come here. Oh, come here. Hey. Come here. And now this way. This way. Pretty end this side. Come on. Hey. And here. Come on. We can see the nose. No. What are you barking at? You big vicious beast. I know. Okay. Right. We were trimming bunting, weren't we? We're trimming bunting. Stop it. You finished? No. Gotta have the last word. So professional. And now it's time for a puppy break. I will be with you in 2 seconds. She's in the garden. We're okay for a while. Right. So I've chopped the top. She's back. She's fell over. She's outside. She's back. Are you back? You can be quiet. You finished now? You're making a fool of yourself, you know that. Everyone's talking about you. You're just so noisy. Can't get any work done. I know. So we've trimmed the tops off our pennants. So every one of those is a very respectable 5 inches in length. And I've pressed them all as well. So I've got some that are striped on the back and some that are floral. So I'm going to kind of alternate those across my bunting. And I'm going to join them all together with some bias binding. And the reason I like the bias binding is because, as opposed to ribbon, when you fold it in half, you've got that really nice, neat edge. So I don't, you know how I feel about a raw edge. I don't like a raw edge. So you've got a really nice, neat edge across there, and it encompasses the bunting pennants perfectly. And this is a 3/4 inch bias binding. Do you know, sometimes you can buy bias binding if you buy it online without actually feeling it, and it's really stiff and scratchy when you get it home. So I can't use that on a quilt, it's horrible. This is that same kind of bias binding that I bought without actually feeling it, and it's a bit scratchy. But for bunting, it's absolutely perfect. So that's what I'm going to use it for. So don't throw it away. Even horrible stuff comes into use at some point. So here we go, let's get the machine in. So I'm going to start off folding my my horrible bias binding in half and making a long strip to start with. Then I'm going to start adding the pennants. So I'm pushing this into the bias binding, folding it in half around the edge, and so. You could press your bias binding first if you like. This creases quite well, so I've no need to do that. Then the second piece I'm going to put around about an inch, 2.5 centimetres from the first one. So you can space these out as much as you like. If you want to pin them, that is entirely up to you. I think, again, if you're going to be selling your bunting, then maybe you'd want to make sure that they're perfectly evenly spaced. But just something that's going to hang in the garden, I'm not too worried about that. I'll have another stripe one. And I think when you've finished your bunting as well, it's a nice idea to add some bows. If you've got a little extra ribbon, you could tie bows and put those in the centre. I've made bunting before now with dried flowers. Maybe you could add something like some silk flowers and bows, and you know those strings of beads are always quite nice that hang down. Nothing too heavy, but you can really embellish your bunting, make it really, really pretty, make it really special. And again, particularly if you're selling it. Right, so that's just a little strip that I'm making for now. When I come to the end, I'm going to carry on sewing the bias binding in half. So I'm just feeding that through my fingers. As long as I need it. So I would carry on and make as much bias binding bunting as I need to go around the garden, maybe around the bed head of a child's bed, across windows looks really nice, around the front of tabletops. If you're eating al fresco in the summertime, it's quite nice to put these around your outdoor tables. So bunting isn't just for decorating street parties, bunting is for every occasion. So enjoy your occasion, and I hope you enjoy making your bunting.